Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the Cryptoverse. Today we are going to do another live stream.
Thanks for jumping back.
This one is more so for Ethereum specifically because of our recent Ethereum move. So let's go ahead and jump in. I'll first just post this a couple different places just so people know that I'm doing the stream. All right. Sorry, just checking the comments. So here we are. Ethereum is at 709. I mean, like yesterday we did a live stream, and I mean yesterday, what were we at? Like 6:30 or something? Let's see. Yeah, at the bottom yesterday we were at around 625, and now we're looking at 709. So it gives you an idea of, as I said before, how quickly the market sentiment can change, right? How quickly it can change. Now, we already said this, but we also want to make sure we don't get ahead of ourselves, right? We don't want to get ahead of ourselves just yet because, as we know, Bitcoin controls the market and it can take back any bullishness that Ethereum has anytime it wants to. And of course, it could accomplish it by Bitcoin continuing its rally to 30K. This would likely put Ethereum's potential theoretical rally on hold, or a correction, an Ethereum or a Bitcoin correction could also put the Ethereum rally on hold. So what we want Bitcoin to do, and if you hold Ethereum, if you don't hold Ethereum, then you probably don't care. But what in terms of Ethereum, what would we want Ethereum to do? Well, we would want Bitcoin to basically just not do a whole lot of anything, just chill out for a few weeks, you know, and let Ethereum do its thing, right? Just let it go. And so this is what we're ultimately looking for. So we know we've done the research, we've seen many times, we've talked about this extensively over the last few months, so much in fact that you guys are, I'm sure, are absolutely sick of hearing about it. But it tends to rally against Bitcoin starting in December or January. Okay, sometimes the move starts in December, sometimes the move starts in January. We don't really know when it's going to start or if it's going to start, but we look at the historical trends and see when it started in the past and use that to inform our decisions, whether that means you take what's happened in the past and assume it's going to happen again, or if you think it'll happen the exact opposite way, you can use that data as well. So it's all about getting the data, and I present the data, I present my interpretation of the data, and you can go with whatever interpretation of the data that you want to. So again, so far, as I've said many times, right, I mean, you know, I sort of joke about it, right? Don't schedule your Forbes interview quite yet, but it's true. You know, I mean, Ether goes up 10%, and then everyone's basically saying that it's going to $10,000, and we just want to be pragmatic about this. I mean, yeah, we all want Ethereum to go to $10,000, but let's get to 4 figures first, right? Before we start talking about 5 figures. So, I mean, with that said, we've looked at a theoretical $10,000 Ether in several years, right? It's possible maybe in several years, but I don't think it's possible in the short term. So what could be possible in the short term is a 4-figure Ether. But I imagine there will be some key levels that we're going to need to overcome between a $700 Ether and a $1,000 Ether. And you know, if we go back and look, let's go back and look at, say, weekly time frames. So the top that we had over here, so this top back in April of 2018 on the candles, the weekly candles, we are approaching. Okay, we are approaching that level. And that price level is around $800. So we'll want to keep an eye on this. This could present a little bit of an obstacle on a theoretical path to a $1,000 ether. You know, if we climb higher, we had some, and I mean, I don't really think, you know, ether can slice through this stuff like butter if it wants to. So it doesn't. It's not like these are necessarily huge resistance levels. But the top of these weekly candles up here were 1361. So I would say keep an eye on that. Also keep an eye on the absolute top, which I don't know how accurate this wick is. I think it was closer to around $1,400, not what this wick is showing. I mean, I remember watching it live. Does anyone actually remember Ether going to $1,600? Because I don't, but this exchange is showing a $1,600 Ether back in early 2018. But in January, I don't remember ever seeing a $1,600 Ether. I do remember around a $1,400 Ether, but not anywhere close to $1,600. So let's just draw the line. Let's assume there's something wrong here. You know, a line at say $1,399 would be right there. Okay, and then here's the line at 1237 or 1227 where we had a couple of weekly tops. So what we want to do is just kind of systematically go through Ether Bitcoin as well, because unfortunately, in terms of our trusty 20-week moving average, the Ether Bitcoin valuation right now is actually in a bear market, right? If you evaluate it the same way that we evaluate Bitcoin in terms of the bull market support, right? If it's in a bull market, we say if it's above the 20-week SMA, we say bull market. If it's below the 20-week SMA, bear market. Pretty simple, straightforward. There are some other caveats to a bull market, right? You want to have a golden cross, the 50-day going above the 200-day. You also would like to have confirmation of support, right, at the 20-week moving average, which is exactly what we got. These are all things that we need for a bull market. But if you just take it as the 20-week moving average, above it bull, below it bear, and then you go look at the Ether Bitcoin valuation, it is right now still in a bear market. It is not doing that well. So hopefully this is the turnaround point. I mean, I'm sure many people watching would love this, would love it for this point right here to be the turnaround point, and for the final wick down here to be at 0.0226, and for this to have been the final capitulation wick of Ether against Bitcoin, right? Let's hope that's the case, but we'll also be a little bit open-minded and not necessarily say that has to be what happens. So for us to get above the 20-week moving average, we need to get above, and we just started a new week, we need to get above 0.03118. So if we can get above, you know, let's say 0.0313 or so, if we can get above 0.0313, then we are back, Ethereum would be back in bull market mode against Bitcoin. Until that happens, you could say that the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation is not in bull market mode. Now, this stuff for the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation is not that useful. It's not nearly as useful as it is for, say, Bitcoin. If you go back and look at how useful it would have been, you know, definitely when we're above it, it's bull market. But yeah, of course, if the price is trending higher, it's going to be above an averaged value from the last 20 weeks. But anyways, you know, we would like to get above it and start flying. I can assure you the emotions you feel right now are nothing compared to those emotions you may feel if in fact we are able to get back above this level and continue this rally. Because if this rally continues and the valuation of Bitcoin stays more or less constant, then, you know, I think Ethereum has a lot of ground to make up and its USD valuations should go up significantly. But as always, we want to stay pragmatic. We want to be cautiously optimistic. recognizing that we are approaching Q1. Historically speaking, if you look at the 90-day ROI of Ether against Bitcoin, starting from say like November, December, January timeframes, the 90-day ROI tends to be pretty good. The 90-day ROI of Ethereum bought against Bitcoin in the summer tends to be less than 1, I believe. And that worked out again this year too. If you were buying Bitcoin this past summer, again, or if you're buying Ether against Bitcoin this past summer, you would have seen a pretty bad return on your investment. However, historically speaking, on average, buying in November, December, and January, maybe even February, it tends to have a pretty decent 90-day ROI. And that's not my interpretation, right? That's just what it is, right? That's just the data. And again, if you don't think that's going to happen, that's fine. We're not saying that Ether has to break out against Bitcoin. We're just saying that if history were any indication, then it should break out against Bitcoin. And maybe this is the start of that breakout. So, the current valuation right now is 710. Okay. Now, one of the things we can do is and I actually already made a video. We only look at Ether overvaluations historically, but we're just going to run through a couple of them here so you'll know what to expect in the other video and we go into more detail. But what we're going to do, and let me just check the chat to make sure everyone is doing okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to say this logarithmic regression curve, right, it's fit to quote-unquote non-bubble data. Let me just, so it's fit to what we would say non-bubble data. So if you zoom in, the fair value back in June of 2019 was around 119. So from that level, in June of 2019, Ether reached an overvaluation from the fair value of about 200% overvalued. Where would that put Ether today if it were 200% overvalued from the fair value? Okay, and this fair value, you could argue what are the merits of it. I just tried to fit it to what I consider to be non-bubble data. A 200% overvaluation from quote-unquote the fair value would put Ether at around $900. So that would put Ether at around $900 if we were overvalued by 200% like we were in the summer of 2019. Now, is there any point in looking at overvaluations from here? Probably not, because as we've said before, we would expect diminishing returns this market cycle. I do not think that Ethereum against USD is going to increase from the bottom. I don't think it's going to increase 978,000%. I mean, that would be nice, and if it did, I don't think anyone here would be complaining, but let's also be a little bit pragmatic about it and say we're probably not going to see that type of overvaluation again. If that somewhat saddens you, think about the people next market cycle who might be looking back at this market cycle in envy that we've already seen from the bottom this year. We bottomed at around $80. We're a stone throw away from a 10x as measured from March. So in the last 9 months, Ethereum is not that far away from a 10x, right? All the way down here. So maybe it wasn't $80, it was, I think it was in the 80s, but anyways, right now we're at 700%. So if we were to go up, a little bit more, we need to get to 900%. If we were to go up to 900%, then this, and maybe this is because we see weekly. Let's switch over to daily and see if it has any better resolution or if it gives us the same thing. Yeah, I'm not seeing it any different. So as measured from March, we are currently up around 700%. So I think that people in the next market cycle would probably look back in envy that we were able to see a set, which is an 8x. So 700% is 8x, 900% is 10x. So to see a 8x move in 9 months is pretty incredible. And for us to get to a 10x move at 900%, we would be looking at a $900 Ether, which, I mean, we have reason to be cautious, but it's not like it's completely out of the question. We did price prediction videos earlier this year when it was at $200, saying that, you know, a $600, $700 ether could be on the cards. I didn't know that it was going to happen quite this quickly, but here we are, and now we're at $700. So, you know, I think that it's, as we said before, right, it's always good to be practical, and use the data to see how far overvalued we could get, practically speaking, right? So the other thing we're going to do is we're going to put back on our log of the price divided by the 20-week SMA. And all we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing we did with Bitcoin. And I'm not going to take all of them because I do have a standalone video that goes systematically through each one. But let's just take a couple of examples. So yes, we could just measure the percent move from the 20-week. What's the fun in that? Let's use a natural log. This is the natural log of the price divided by the 20-week SMA. You can see that in terms of overvaluation from the 20-week SMA, in the summer of 2019, it reached a level of around 0.57. This is the log of the price divided by the 20-week SMA. Here, in the summer of 2019, or spring of 2019, in August of 2020, we also reached that same level, so around 0.58. So the first thing we're going to go do is we're going to go over here. We're going to say, okay, this needs to equal 0.58, and this is our 20-week moving average. What is the 20-week moving average of Ether at this time? So let's go back and take a look. So at this time, the 20-week moving average is 472. So if the 20-week moving average is 472, and we get to a level of overvaluation that we got twice in the last couple years, then that would imply an $843 Bitcoin. So, or Ether, not Bitcoin. So if Ether were to go to $843 this week, then we would reach the same level of overvaluation that we reached in August of 2020 and in May of 2019. And that's in terms of overvaluation from the 20-week moving average. If we reach the overvaluation, and that's, by the way, if it happened this week, we also know that the Ether 20-week moving average is increasing by about $12 per week or so, approximately $10 to $15. Let's just say $12. So if we reached this level of overvaluation in, say, 2 weeks, then this would be $24 higher, which would be $496. And in that situation, it would imply closer to an $885 Bitcoin to reach the same level of overvaluation that we reached earlier in 2020 and in 2019. Now, if we were to reach this level of overvaluation in terms of Ether USD as measured against the 20-week moving average, we would need to be getting up to the log of the price divided by the 20-week would be closer to 1.04. So if we were to go over here and replace this with an overvaluation from the 20-week moving average of 1.04, then it would put us at a $1,400 Ether if it happened in 2 weeks. So we have a whole video on this that'll come out probably sometime in the middle of the night tonight. But I just wanted to give you guys a taste of what that video will systematically go through. So what it is, basically, it's short term. It's very dubious short term Ethereum price predictions based on something, right? And I think basing it on something is better than basing it on nothing and just saying, oh, $3,000 bit or $3,000 Ether end of year, something like that, which has no really basis in anything. Let's look at the data. Let's look at overvaluation from various levels, recognizing we're likely going to see diminishing returns, and try to figure out what are possible theoretical price levels for Ethereum in order for us to reach, historical levels of overvaluation, whether it's compared to the fair value logarithmic regression curve or whether it's compared to the 20-week moving average of the Ether USD valuation. And you can see that the Ethereum bull market support against the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA also is pretty good as well. Holding it as support during a bull market. Once we get into a bear market, resistance. And then once we get back into a bull, we want to hold it as support, right? And continue on up. So hopefully that makes sense. Currently we're sitting at a $709, almost a $710 Ethereum. So let me know if you guys have any questions. Remember, if you guys like the content, please subscribe. Let's go for 80,000 subscribers. Also, give the video a thumbs up. And yeah, because we only have 170 likes. Let's try to ramp that up to 500 likes if we can. It looks like Tyler Jordan wants to be banned, so we'll go ahead and oblige him. Goodbye, Tyler. All right, do we have any questions? No, we're not going to free Tyler from being banned, because if people are gonna act like a child, then we'll send them somewhere else. So we also do the same thing in terms of the Ether Bitcoin valuation, and you can see it. I mean, it has gained significantly here. If you go back and look at these monthly averages, which I think are fairly important, but again, who really knows? If you look at these monthly averages and we hide that and put on these two, the 50-month Ether Bitcoin moving average was the peak in September of 2020, right? Identically the peak. The wick in September took us straight to the 50-month moving average, okay? And then we also want to look at the 20-month moving average as a theoretical bull market support line. And the reason we say that is because the 20-month moving average has been support in the bull market in the past. And as we also showed earlier this year, when in the bear market, we had all these wicks going up to the 20-month moving average, and we said once we break it, we should be off to the races, and we were straight up to the 50-month. Now we're all the way back down. The current valuation on this is around 0.0251. So as long as we stay above 0.0251, we're still potentially trying to hold this somewhat important moving average as support. If we take a measured move going back 20 months, then we're looking at replacing the current valuation with a valuation slightly higher if everything stays as it is. So we would actually expect this to continue going down into January, unless in the next 4 days we see the Ether Bitcoin valuation just shoot through the roof. Okay, if it were to shoot through the roof, then we might start to see this start to slow back up. I don't know why you guys are asking about so many coins. We're talking about Ethereum. This is an Ethereum live stream, okay? This is an Ethereum live stream. We want to break down Ethereum. It's #2 market cap. I think it's important to focus on this one. A lot of people own this coin. I think let's focus on Ethereum. Currently at 710. Bitcoin is below 27K now. And the Ether Bitcoin valuation is up to 0.0263, almost 0.0264 from the bottom, which happened, like 2 days ago or something. We are up about 16% against Bitcoin. So a pretty nice move of Ethereum back against Bitcoin over the last 2 or 3 days. Brian says we may be waiting months for Ethereum to run. It's funny because I get what you're saying, right? I get what you're saying. Someone messaged me today, and said they've been losing money on Ethereum. And I'm like, looking at this trend since March, right? Looking at the trend since March, I mean, how does someone lose money on this, right? How do you lose money? I mean, are you just constantly shorting it or something? Like, how do you lose money on this type of a trend? It just seems like such a bullish trend, right? I mean, from the bottom below $100, we're all the way up over 700. So I thought it was kind of an interesting comment. It's like, how the hell are you losing money on this trend unless you're just constantly betting against it? No, so the person did not mean losing to Bitcoin, because even if you measured it against Bitcoin, it still is up for the year, right? I mean, if you look at where Ether was at the beginning of 2020, we're still up. If you go to the bottom of the wick here, we're still up 56% or 55%. Ether has still had a better year than Bitcoin. It's just that people suffer from recency bias. Because Bitcoin has rallied more recently, everyone has the idea of, okay, well, these gains are nice, but what has it done for me recently? You can see that Ether has had a better year than Bitcoin, whether you measure it from January or whether you measure it from March. If you want to start measuring it from May, it's also currently up, right? It's currently up from June as well against Bitcoin. In fact, it's only in recent months, July, August, September, October, and November, where it's down. But for the most part, it has been up for the entire year. And if you just look at the Ether Bitcoin trend, right, generally moving up, right? We come up, we have these peaks, right? We come back down. We have these bleeds of 80% against Bitcoin from time to time. But you have to ask yourself, right, are you really living if you don't bleed against Bitcoin 85% a couple times in life? So I think that's just par for the course. So, I would still say, I mean, I don't want to convey or misconstrue. I do own a lot more Bitcoin than Ethereum, right? I do own a lot more Bitcoin than Ethereum, but you can't tell me that Bitcoin consistently outperforms Ethereum, because it doesn't, right? Ethereum has a way of completely going through the roof during bull markets, but measuring something from the peak of a bull market is ridiculous, right? Don't measure it from the peak of a bull market. It was completely silly to be buying in here in the first place. Get it in the accumulation range, right? Get it when the risk is low, when we're in our regression band, and even higher. I've been accumulating Ethereum even fairly recently. Last week I picked some Ethereum up in the $600 range. So, I still think Ethereum has a fairly bright future ahead of it. And we're currently at 712, and Bitcoin is good. So Bitcoin is still lower than 27,000. So what we want to see Bitcoin just stay. Like, someone teach it the command stay, and let it stay there. And hopefully we see Ethereum run. Sorry, I'm just reading through the chat. Someone's talking about the ratio of unicorns to leprechauns. I had a physics teacher in undergrad, and he always would talk about coming up with you can put your units in anything you want, right? I mean, most people would choose meters per second. I think some interesting units, of course, are furlongs per fortnight. And he said as long as the units, as long as you did the unit conversion correctly, he'll count it. So why not make him do a little work and put the units in furlongs per fortnight? $713 Ether. Bitcoin starting to approach 27K again. Someone says, have you ever had a video where you show Ethereum rallying when Bitcoin drops in previous bull runs? But you've also mentioned a few times that if Bitcoin bleeds, alts will capitulate. Could you please clarify? I think it's the rate at which Bitcoin falls, right? If as I've said, if Bitcoin capitulates to 18K in a week, that's different than a slow bleed, because Bitcoin's down what, 2K, or not 2K, maybe like 1.5K in a couple days. It was over 28K. Now it's below 27 a day later. These things are okay for Ethereum, right? These things are okay. If you see it dropping 30%, that's not okay. So it depends on how quickly it drops. Yeah, we have a lot of Ethereum price prediction videos. Millionaires and billionaires have yet to put their net worth into Ethereum. I feel like a lot of people have put some of their net worth into Ethereum. It's not like everyone that invests in Ethereum has lower than $1 million net worth. Someone says, aren't you essentially betting that institutions are going to get wrecked if you classify this as a bubble? We're saying short-term bubble, and I don't know how high it's going to go, right? It could go, Bitcoin could go up a lot more before it corrects. With that said, institutions sometimes come in at bad times, right? Institutions can lose money too. They're still people. They just have a lot bigger pockets. Their pockets are a lot deeper than ours. A lot of hedge funds, the average lifespan for a hedge fund is like 2 years, because most don't do well. And so if the idea that if it's some institution that handles a lot of money, that they're automatically on the right side of every short-term trade, it's just simply not true. There's plenty of examples where it's not the case. So, again, I don't know when it's going to correct. Bitcoin could continue to rally for weeks before it corrects. I'm just saying that, the idea that every institution is on the right side of a trade is just simply not true. Someone says, how would someone be buying of ETH at this point? I'm not sure. I guess I don't understand the question. Why does everyone always ask about Super Chat? No, we don't have Super Chat enabled. Sorry, I might need to pause the chat so I can actually read some of these comments. Someone says the average lifespan of a hedge fund is 2 years. I mean, there's a lot of hedge funds that last a lot longer, but the reason the average is like 2 years is because a lot of times there's a management fee, and then after the management fee, there's they charge another fee based on how well the fund performs. And so, let's say they charge 20% if they're performing above a certain ROI. Well, if they get behind and 1 year the fund does really badly and then next year it does really well, it can't just automatically take a huge fee from clients if the prior year it performed a lot worse. So it's known as the carry. So it has to make up for that, and then after that it can then get back into charging that the higher fee on profits. But like imagine you're invested, you have your money with a hedge fund and it loses money 5 years in a row, and then 1 year it makes 10%. A lot there's certain things they have to abide by, right? And so this is why a lot of times if a hedge fund does really badly for a couple years, rather than try to overcome the carry that they have to overcome to just make up for prior losses in future years, what better way to do it than just in the hedge fund and start a new one, right? And this is what a lot of people do, and that's why I think the average lifespan for a hedge fund is, I think it's around 2 years. How would Ethereum perform this bull cycle if it's one cycle behind Bitcoin? Well, last cycle Bitcoin did 100x from the bottom. So if Ethereum did 100x from the bottom for Ethereum was around $88. So if it did 100x from $88, it would be just shy of a $9,000 Ethereum. We've looked at Ethereum, we've looked at the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation countless times on this channel, so I'm not sure what you mean this is the wrong chart. We have, every other video on Ethereum that I put out, every video essentially talks about the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio. And we've been talking about it endlessly, even in this stream. Someone says, why are there candles above the candle? A thin candle? These are wicks. Those are wicks. What are my thoughts on ADA versus Ethereum? Ethereum is the safer play. I have a lot more Ethereum than ADA, but I do have a small position in ADA as a hedge against Ethereum. Someone says, is it stressful giving advice to a lot of people? No, because I'm not giving advice. I'm just looking at the markets, looking at the data, presenting my interpretation of the data, and you guys can do with that what you wish. We're just chilling, looking at the markets, looking at the data, looking at what the data suggests, my interpretation of it. Take it for what you want. Yeah, I mean, I know not everyone's happy with Ethereum because it can get quite congested. Obviously, hopefully the transition as people transition, to 2.0, things will get better. I mean, at the same time, ADA, while these other networks might be faster, they still have a mountain to overcome in terms of convincing developers and people to use their networks over Ethereum when basically everyone's using Ethereum. Remember to subscribe to the channel, guys, and give the video a thumbs up if you guys like the content. Let's go for 80,000 subscribers. Also, I will remind you, we do have a Telegram chat, almost 11,000 people. So if you guys want to check the Telegram chat out, we will put it in the comments. So make sure you guys check out the Telegram chat. Sorry, I missed a lot of questions. I'll scroll up. What other crypto influencers do I follow? Not a whole lot these days. I used to follow some, but I spend so much of my time just putting out my own content. It's really hard to keep up with anyone else. But I'm sure other people are putting out great content. Some of these other people are, potentially putting out content better than mine, right? I don't know. I'm sure some of them have great content and look at things that I don't look at, like the news and other stuff. So I'm sure they're out there. I don't really have time to follow them myself. Not right now. Do I find fib levels to be respected in parabolic moves? I don't really follow. I mean, I look at them. So I've never looked at them on a video or on stream or anything. I mean, I think they can have their uses. Excuse me, but more or less, I don't follow them that much. Glad you like it, Luis. What data time do I use to calculate the regression in Rainbow? I mean, are you talking about for Bitcoin? Because this is Ethereum. This is just one regression line. Someone's talking about CME gaps to fill. I don't think the CME gaps need to fill. So I'll just stop that question there. Someone says yesterday Bitcoin's price drop brought Link up 11% and Ethereum up 5%. Do you think it's a proportional ratio we can expect in the macro? I mean, generally speaking, we would expect higher returns for lower market cap coins as long as they're going to be decent projects. So if you're investing in very low market cap coins and they're giving you a lower ROI than higher market cap coins that have lower volatility, then what's the point of owning those lower market cap coins? So ideally speaking, we would see a higher ROI with coins that are lower market caps and more volatile. It also takes less volume to move these other coins that have lower market caps. Someone says, are we going to the moon? I prefer to think of it, the Sea of Tranquility, right? The Sea of Tranquility is on the moon. And to get to Mars, it's easier to lift off from the moon, right? The lower gravity. Ethereum is back down to 706. Let's see, Bitcoin is still below 27K, so that's good. Yeah, I'm going to hide. Anyone posting referral codes are instantly hidden. So if you're doing that, adios. My general thinking there is if I can run a YouTube channel with 75,000 subscribers and not post a referral link, then other people should not post referral links. I'm not going to expect you guys to abide by something that I don't. If I'm not doing it, I don't want you guys to post referral links. Oh my gosh. I'm not going to answer some of these questions. What is non-bubble data? It's basically, I mean, I use some derivatives to figure it out, but it's just some fairly somewhat dubious derivatives to figure out what I would consider to be non-bubble data. That's all it is. I consider this to be mania mode, manic bubble. So. Still doing pretty well. I mean, relatively speaking, obviously, a month ago, an Ether Bitcoin valuation of 0.026 would not have been very bullish. If Bitcoin dumps, where do I expect it to bounce? It depends on how far down it goes. You know, we'll do another video on it. Let's just keep it focused on Ethereum for right now. What kind of event would I reconsider the relevancy of data-based analysis? You know, I mean, obviously, world events can change things. I just like to stick to a plan because I'd rather just make sure I'm making money than bet the family farm on some macro economic event or something. That's just my own personal opinion. I'd rather just systematically take profits in bubbles than trying to squeeze out every last penny. It's more important for me to see the money grow and then to protect it rather than to see it grow and then let it go too long and then watch it come back down. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just more risk averse than a lot of people in crypto, but that's the way I operate. Someone says, can Ether Bitcoin go above its prior all-time high this cycle? I don't know. I have my doubts. The prior all-time high is around 0.15. So I'm pretty skeptical about it getting to that level. I generally think that maybe it's converging, right? Like it's converging to maybe a level in here. But of course we could go above it and then back down. I don't really know. I mean, it's possible, but I doubt it would be that long-lived if it happened. Someone says, what would make me lose belief that Ethereum will outperform Bitcoin in Q1? I mean, simply if Bitcoin continues to rally would be one main area. I mean, if Bitcoin rallies, you know, a couple $1,000s every week for the next 10 weeks, then most likely Ethereum's not going to outperform it in the short term. Someone said it's weird because we hit $700 the same day with Ethereum in 2017. Let's go see if he's right. So we hit $700 today on December 27th. And if we go all the way back, December 20, sorry, let me go to daily candles. These are weekly. So here's 700. Here's 701. So we know we hit it on the 27th. Let's go all the way back. I mean, it looks like we came above it earlier, but we were at this level on the 27th as well. And then so December of 2017, we rallied all the way up to 862 on December 19th. On December 28th, which is tomorrow, we were around 730 or so. And then we broke out on January 1st. So January 1st, we went from 725 up to, around 1400 something over the next couple weeks. So over the first 2 weeks of January in 2018, we rallied 2x. Okay, so we essentially rallied 2x. I do the profit taking based on the risk levels. Again, that's for part of the premium list, so if you guys want access to that, just check that out. We do have a holiday sale. I'll post it in the chat. Make sure you guys check it out. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you guys like the content. Let's get to 76,000 subscribers soon. And also give the video a thumbs up. While more Bitcoin and Ethereum should increase more. Again, it's about managing risk. Someone says I look tired. Yeah, I probably am going to go to sleep soon. The 15th, that's just the way I do it. I just scale it linearly, not exponentially or the same percentage. Someone says the market cap of Bitcoin got to 320 billion. I guess he's talking about last market cycle. Ethereum got to 150 billion. If Bitcoin gets to 1 trillion, would we expect Ethereum to reach 0.5 trillion? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how easily we can just extrapolate that. Alright, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I'm getting pretty tired, so I think I'm going to go to sleep. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Give the video a thumbs up. Also check out the Telegram channel in the description below. There's the premium list as well you guys can check out. And the I'll post both of those. I'll post the Telegram channel as well. We have almost 10,900 people, so we'll post that as well. We will wrap it up there. So Ether's at 708. We'll see what tomorrow brings. We'll see you guys next time. Make sure you subscribe. Bye.